Hello, everybody. We finally made it. The last section in our chapter on weather, section 5.2.10 on controlling weather. Now, let's take a look at our objectives. Our objectives are to explain how cloud seeding works and summarize the pros and cons of controlling weather. So, there is actually an account in the Bible of an instance where weather is attempting to be controlled by people. And this involves the encounter between Elijah and the prophets of Baal. And remember, Elijah implored God to send down fire from heaven and then to produce a rainstorm to show his existence and power over the lifeless god Baal, Baal who really did not exist, to show that Baal had no power, Baal did not exist. And so there actually is that account. So people have desired really to have control of weather for good reasons, because weather can be very dangerous. It would be nice to be able to control when it rains and so we have enough water, or to have it stop raining if we have more than enough water. So we can see why people would want to do this. So, one thing people have done in the past is they have planted shelter belts. This is a barrier of trees or shrubs designed to protect crops from wind damage. It just protects fields from erosion, it protects plantings. So, not really an attempt to completely control the weather as far as uh, controlling whether it rains or not, but to control the effects of some of the weather. And so maybe you can see in the background a little bit here, there is a row of trees. That is an example of a shelter belt. There would be shelter belts between different fields. And part of it also was to demarcate where different properties ended, but also to help prevent erosion. Now, a more modern way of controlling the weather is through what is called cloud seeding. So let's talk about cloud seeding for a minute. So clouds are seeded with crystals of dry ice or frozen carbon dioxide to provide particles for droplet formation. Remember, we said that in order for clouds to form, they have to have particles to form on. So this is the adding of particles to the air to promote that droplet formation. The tiny crystals attract water molecules, which eventually grow large enough to form rain or snow. So we can hopefully cause it to rain in an area. Now, the advantages of cloud seeding are that it can save lives, especially due to hail. Now, I realize this is like hurricane damage, but there have been attempts. It would be desirable for people to be able to control hurricanes. Okay. It can protect or water crops. So, a crop like wheat, um, uh, which when it's close to harvest can be very damaged by something by hail, but also if it doesn't get enough water, it won't grow, and that's bad for our food supply. It can increase water supply in areas where there's drought, perhaps, and it can reduce property damage, especially due to hail, even though, as I said, this is a picture of a hurricane. But I am going to talk about this. There was an attempt to seed a hurricane to see if it would be less damaging. The disadvantages of cloud seeding are it can introduce harmful chemicals to the environment. They do also use other chemicals for cloud seeding, so those have the potential to be harmful. Sodium chloride is one, but even that, if we get too much salt on the land, it can be destructive to the environment. It can cause storms to change course. Remember that hurricane I mentioned? Well, and I believe it was 1946 or 1947, they attempted to seed a hurricane to see if they could reduce the intensity of the winds. And what happened is when they seeded it, it actually changed course and hit the city of Savannah, Georgia. So It could possibly be dangerous. It can cause floods or droughts. So, an attempt to seed clouds in one area so it will actually rain, well, what if they're, in a sense, overseeded and it floods? Or what if we seed clouds in one area so that that area gets water, but then the water which would have reached another area doesn't and it causes drought somewhere else? So, that is a danger. It can damage the environment due to some of these effects because our ecosystems, the environment is a very careful balance of forces that God put into existence to balance everything out. And it can also create political problems between nations. What if that case where a country seeds clouds so that they get water, but because they did that, the another country does not get the water that they needed because of seeding in another place. And so that could end up causing political problems between countries. And also, just with this whole problem, too, just even people saying, you're trying to play God um, and controlling the weather. So just that argument as well, that you just should not do it because you're playing God. You do not know what the consequences could be in many cases of altering the weather. Okay, so if you are listening to this video, what I want you to do is I want you to draw off to this or somewhere around here with the cloud seeding. I want you to draw a cloud. And I want you to draw it like with some watermelon looking seeds in it. So make it look kind of like a slice of watermelon for cloud seeding. Now, scientists are researching ways that laser beams can be used to redirect lightning. This is kind of a cool thing. They have found that lightning can have an effect on electrical charges, and so they're trying to redirect lightning so that it doesn't damage buildings, so that it's away from people. They're also using laser beams for cloud seeding as well, so that they would not have to introduce any chemicals to the clouds. So that's another use of laser beams. Okay, so our objectives were to explain how cloud seeding works and to summarize the pros and cons of controlling weather. So don't forget your 5 questions, and this is it. You have everything you need to study for the upcoming test.